This was the Golden State, the land of opportunity. Like this was where everyone wanted to live. And it really is now sad to see like everyone I know is either like thinking about leaving, in the process of leaving, has left, the companies are leaving. And Newsom is and the government, they're just oblivious to all of it. It's wild.
Yeah, we should be acting like this is like a state emergency,
Right.
and addressing this like at the forefront. Yet Newsom is just, it's all good for him and his friends. So there's no urgency to fix the state. He's up in Napa Valley. He's having nice, expensive wine. He has dinners to attend to.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
who are we? Who are we to be asking him to attend to us? I mean, come on. He has to have his dinners and his fancy, and his fancy get-togethers.
Hey, what's up, my friends? It's Danny. I'm really excited for this chat today with Jorge Ventura, who's been covering a lot of the things that are happening to people, to individuals, and to communities due to the pandemic and all of the lockdowns, the school closures, the business closures. So we, on this chat, talk about everything happening in California, ranging from small businesses and restaurants being closed, the impact that that is having and the devastation that that is having on families throughout the entire country as well. Jorge has been covering these things on social media since the pandemic started really last summer. He covered the riots and a lot of the social justice things. And as of late, he's been covering everything going on with small business, with families, with restaurants, and things like that. He does share a few really heart-wrenching stories, guys. So I want to warn you about that in advance. But I believe that we need to hear these because everything that's going on, especially in California, with these tyrannical lockdowns, the impact that that has had on people, on underprivileged communities, is really devastating. And I think this needs to be heard. Be sure to stay until the end, you guys, because we do talk not only about the problems, but about the solutions. And Jorge and I really talk about the things that you can do, the things that I can do, the things that we can do as a community to help all of us get through this and come out of this and really thrive so that it doesn't have a generational impact on us and on our kids. So enjoy the chat with Jorge. If you like this kind of content, if you like this video, if you get value from this, please do be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. When you hit that like button, YouTube will show this video to more people, and then we can get that message and spread it so that everyone can see what is going on and everyone can help out. So enjoy my chat with Jorge Ventura. Hey, what's happening, Jorge? How you doing? Thanks for joining me on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You got it, man. So I'm super excited to have you on and chat with you. I know you've been covering a lot of the same topics that I've been talking about on my YouTube channel: California, small businesses, restaurant owners, just the devastation that's happened with the pandemic and really the after effects from the politicians. So wanted to first just kind of ask you how you got into, covering this and everything that you've been doing recently.
Yeah, man. So it kind of in the summer I was doing a lot of the riot coverage of George Floyd. That's, I think, where a lot of people started kind of discovering my work. So I kind of was doing that, and as kind of the riots calmed down in D.C. That's where I've been based with the Daily Caller. I actually this kind of happened in a way by accident. I One thing I've noticed about my reporting is when I did cover the riots, I was probably one of the only few reporters that would kind of stick around after and still like interview and document the small business owners and see what they had to go through after getting their business destroyed, how the whole thing of filing insurance and all that stuff. So I like to focus on the business area always, and I actually came back to California for just for basically like a week break for Thanksgiving break. And as soon as I got back, LA County put the ban on outdoor dining. So we already knew that restaurants and small businesses were essentially on their last legs here. And here where I live in the Antelope Valley, Palmdale area, I mean, most of the restaurants here are all family business, mom and pop shops. So right off the bat, I already knew this was going to just take a lot of folks, out of business completely. So I started interviewing the restaurant owners here in Palmdale and documenting their stories. And basically, when I would interview them, they all said, "Hey, we had to lay off the majority of our staff, or basically all of our staff, on Thanksgiving week." At that time, LA County put the ban for 3 weeks on the outdoor dining ban, but all the restaurant owners said they expected it to last longer, and it's a sad situation. You had servers getting laid off on Thanksgiving week with 3 weeks away from Christmas. So it's uncertainty. They have no paycheck coming in. Most of the servers that I actually met, their spouse or significant other is also in the restaurant industry. So now you have married couples and just couples now that don't have any income together that they're bringing back to their household. And I was just started documenting the restaurant industry, started putting these interviews out, and the more interviews I would put out, the more restaurant owners actually would want to come up and speak to me. So, I documented all types of stories. Folks who had to lay off, basically all of their staff on their last legs. A lot of these facilities, one restaurant went from making $5,000 in sales every day to they like celebrate now if they even get $400 in sales. And it's just a sad, it's a sad situation. I started also one thing we started to see here in California too is we started seeing then the restaurant owners who started to defy the orders. They started to say, hey, you know what? We're not backing down. I met Dave Folds in Agora Hills of Crony Sports Grill, and yeah, he was defying orders. He was getting fined every day. So all of a sudden, it wasn't just documenting, what's going on with the business, and then having to deal with paying for tents and heaters and spending all this money, then being told to shut down. But then we started kind of seeing this kind of big government overreach where we started seeing LA County public health officials at these restaurants and finding the owners who were staying open. And most of these owners like, hey, you're forcing me into this position. I'm about to lose everything. And then a lot of these owners that I've met, they just, have a big heart for their workers. They don't want to see their workers laid off, don't want to see them unemployed. So started documenting that. And just we just released a documentary less than 2 weeks ago. It's on a Daily Caller YouTube. It's called Takeout Only, where we went more in depth with this. And we've just been documenting a lot of the lockdown stuff. I've been focusing on the mental health, and it's just a lot of it's some sad stuff, but it's the reality of what's going on the ground.
Yeah, and Jorge, I got to commend you for doing this because I think so many people have kind of just sat back and taken it, and the people that I think are defying it, I've talked to some people as well. Interviewed a great guy down in Manhattan Beach. We went and visited him a couple weeks ago. Fantastic guy, and keeping his restaurant open and stuff like that. Sorry, Huntington Beach, I should say. And so it's great, but it is a very, very sad situation for sure. And a lot of businesses have closed, and a lot of restaurants have closed. Right? I know you're seeing that.
Yeah, like I said before, when you put the ban on outdoor dining in LA County, here we have 30,000 restaurants. And not only that, let's remember that California was the first state to do a statewide stay-at-home order since March. So these folks have been really shut down almost for a whole year and are surviving off outdoor dining. Like most of these folks are not even making profits; they're literally just breaking even enough to just pay their employees, basically just pay rent and just kind of stay afloat. And when you do this, you just take a lot of folks out, and it's heartbreaking stuff. Most of my interviews, I had owners cry in front of me and tell me they don't know what to do. It's just like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. And then speaking to these business owners, they feel not only forgotten by the politicians because no one's helping them out. They've been told to shut down, and then there's like no stimulus, there's like no direct helpline to the servers, but they also kind of feel left behind by the media as well. They feel that. When we talk about COVID, they feel like it's only like the hospitals and ICUs that are being covered, and not enough of, hey, this is the reality for us. We can't put food on the table. Not only that, when these folks lose these businesses, we're talking about 10 to 15 servers at these restaurants, sometimes 30 people that are employed under these people that also cannot feed their families as well. It's a big effect. And then not only that is most of these people are working class, so they're working all day. They have kids at home, and their kids are now struggling and falling behind because of being on Zoom all day. And then, we have the mental health issue with children. And then, so, I mean, this whole thing kind of, it's a big domino effect that we're seeing here in the Golden State.
Yeah, I don't know if we can call it the Golden State that much anymore, man. I've been talking about all of the issues and problems in California more on the taxes and the policies and the politics of it. But this is this is reality that, all these people and small businesses are being put out of business. All these jobs are leaving. And this is a total California thing. I mean, I know you've traveled. I was in Texas for a while in December. And, in other states, they're putting businesses first, which is the common sense way to do it, like in Florida and Texas and stuff. And in California, obviously that's not happening. So, Jorge, I have a question for you, kind of a theory I've been working on, which is, where do you think we go from here as a state? You're from here, I'm from here. We have a ton of people leaving. The policies here are so anti-business. And so that's kind of, my question now is what happens to this state when all these businesses stay closed, kids are still on Zoom and all this other nonsense going on?
Well, I wish I had a right answer for this. If I did, I'd probably be governor. But I think the first step, to be honest, man, is I think the first step is working. I think Californians right now are waking up to the tyrannical government overreach of Governor Gavin Newsom. And what I mean by that is, when I've been interviewing folks here on the ground, most of these people are like, "Hey, I'm not political at all, but now I am." A lot of people that I've interviewed are Democratic voters, and they're saying, "Hey, we're not for this. We're against this." And I think we're seeing the left and the right in this state actually kind of come together and wake up. So I think the first thing that needs to happen is we need to see a recall against Governor Newsom or anything to just take him out of that position. So I think that's the first thing. But I think like as of right now, it would be if I was in charge of the state. I mean, we need some type of stimulus or direct helpline to these small businesses like now in a way that they could see it. So I think either the local counties could handle that or something of that nature, because anytime that California is in charge of something where it's statewide, they're doing a horrible job. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the unemployment fraud. I believe we're at 31 billion fraudulent claims have been paid. Not only that, you have tens and tens and thousands of Californians who still need their unemployment. So the state is in a mess, but I think the first thing you do is you got to take out Governor Gavin Newsom and kind of just go from there. I know the COVID situation is still not making situations easy. So, I really wish I had that right answer, but I think first we got to go at the helm and kind of go from there.
Yeah, Jorge, I completely agree with you. And, guys, the link to the recalls in the description. If you haven't signed the petition yet, Jorge, I'm using our interview to plug this thing because you mentioned it, but it's recallgavin2020.com. I've signed it. I'm getting as many people as I can to sign it. And we're actually really close. I mean, as of this interview today, I think they're at like 1.2 out of the 1.5 million signatures. So I think that's going to happen for sure. If I had to piggyback on what you said, I think that making the state business friendly is going to be a huge thing, because right now, I don't know if you knew, we're always ranked last or second to last in like business friendly states. The regulation, the tax, it's really hard to do business here before all of this. Now you add all this stuff in and it's craziness. So I think I agree with you. I think that's a great first step. You mentioned something just now that I happened to see on your channel, and I wasn't aware of the magnitude of it. I'd love for you to talk about it, which is the EDD unemployment fraud.
Yeah, so I mean, in a way, this is kind of a little joke here, but essentially, California got scammed 31 billion in unemployment fraudulent claims, and this is just through multiple things. It's not just one thing. It's I've even seen some articles where some folks in Nigeria, so even Nigeria scammers, got to make some money off this. But yeah, so we're at 31 billion in unemployment fraudulent claims. Not only that. There's potentially now we have 4.1 million Californians who might have to pay back their unemployment benefits due to the fault of the California Unemployment Department, no fault of their own. So the state is in shambles. And the person who's basically on top of all of this, who's let the fraudulent claims go by. Not only that, I believe in the reports to a law enforcement task force also found that we had, I think, millions paid to people in jail in Californians. As well. So, but the person on top of this right now is California Labor Secretary Julie Su. And in my video, I try to kind of emphasize saying, hey, you would think with the mess that California is in right now, we have like the biggest backlog in unemployment claims and everything like that, that she would be potentially losing her job or things of that sort, or she would be in the hot seat, as some would say who watch sports. But no, that's the complete opposite. The Biden administration, according to Bloomberg News, and they have 3 sources on this, is she's the leading candidate to be the number 2 position for the U.S. Labor Department. So, I mean, hey, here, only in the United States where you could leave a state in such a bad position that you get promoted. I think that just kind of sums up everything about Washington, D.C. and the establishment. So there you go. There you guys go. I don't know anyone else, Danny, that could do bad at their job and get promoted to even I mean, it's incredible. She's literally going to be working under the Biden administration, leaving us in shambles. It's embarrassing.
I mean, Jorge, I'm laughing. It's not a laughing matter, but that seems to be the MO. I mean, it's like you screw stuff up in California and you get promoted. I mean, this is not the first person that's happened to. I mean, Gavin Newsom is notorious for continuing to promote these people that screw everything up. I mean, it's because the state is not run like a real business. If it was a real business, you would never do that, right? But here it happens all the time.
Powerhouse, man. With our economy, we could be a true powerhouse, and I mean we're not, and it's sad to say. I think I can say this for the both of us. Just being here, it's sad to see your state go this way. I was born in 1995, so in those early 90s, early 2000s. I kind of always say this, but kind of to kind of bring back folks here is a little throwback Thursday. Is back when I grew up in those early 2000s. My father was an immigrant from El Salvador. He had a 6th grade education. He was a trucker, and with that job, we were able to have a middle-class home. My mom was able to stay home. She could raise the 3 kids. Every summer, we would go on vacation. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor, but we had enough, and it was great. It was a great middle-class life. All of our neighbors' life was like that. That life is gone in California. Now you have the fathers working 2 jobs. You have the moms working 2 jobs, and they're never home. They can't spend time with their kids. One thing that you kind of touched on was if we need to be a business-friendly state, which I absolutely agree with, but we need to be a family-friendly state. We need to make it easy to have kids and raise kids and send them to school and make sure they have good-paying jobs in the state. So we should make policies where we should be family-friendly, where those comes in tax breaks for kids or some situation during the pandemic, but we should be a family-friendly state as well.
Totally agree with you, Jorge, 100%. I mean, you got that right. I mean, see, and what's funny is like these are all common sense things that if you're running the state, you should be focused on. Newsom's focused on all kinds of other BS that has nothing to do with any of these things. And it is really sad to see. So, Jorge, I'm a little older than you, but my parents came here from Russia when I was 3. And for the same exact reasons, right? Like this was the Golden State, the land of opportunity. Like this was where everyone wanted to live. And it really is now sad to see like everyone I know is either like thinking about leaving, in the process of leaving, has left, the companies are leaving. And Newsom and the government, they're just oblivious to all of it. It's wild.
Yeah, we should be acting like this is like a state emergency
Right.
and addressing this like at the forefront. Yet Newsom is just, it's all good for him and his friends. So there's no urgency to fix his state. He's up in Napa Valley. He's having nice, expensive wine. He has dinners to attend to.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
who are we? Who are we to be asking him to attend to us? I mean, come on. He has to have his dinners and his fancy get-togethers. But look, all jokes aside, I mean, one thing too that's also looming here in the state is we have a huge eviction crisis that's about to hit us in a month or 2, and that's just going to keep increasing our homeless situation. We already know here in the state of California, before the pandemic, we had a homeless crisis, as it was what we should call it. That already was an emergency, and we just kind of let it go by. And now the homeless situation is going to get worse. And then Danny actually just put out a video yesterday, but earlier this week I interviewed a small business owner who lost his small business in this pandemic. He lost his home, cars repossessed, and him and his family are now literally living in the middle of nowhere in Lake LA in a small RV. And as during I'm interviewing him, it made me realize I'm like, how many more Californians are in that position, in that position where they're basically 1 or 2 steps away from actually being homeless. And, this guy was a former job creator. He created jobs. He employed in our community locally. Now he's in a position where, I mean, he's literally can't do anything. He has no money. He might lose his RV. That's the last thing that's kind of, having him survive in here in Lake LA, where they're literally just living in the middle of nowhere in a desert and having to survive off like 3 gallons of, like 3 or 4 gallons of propane every day and that nature. So it makes you think of how many more Californians are in that same position where, they're almost homeless, or they're right there and they just need a helpline. And nothing's coming in. I mean, I know we've been going at Newsom, but even at the, our government level, it seems there's no urgency for a 2K stimulus check. The Democrats told us they were going to give us a 2K stimulus check. That's what the Senate Democrats ran in Georgia. I mean, they got the House, they got the Senate, they got the presidency. I mean, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, Jorge, I don't. It's really baffling to me how all of these politicians work, because they promise all this stuff when they're campaigning, and then when they get in, like you said, it's nowhere to be found, and people are really suffering. I mean, I really feel like this 2020-21 is, the Democratic platform is all about bridging the wealth divide, right? And what's happened is it just keeps growing and growing. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and there really is no help, down there. So it is a sad state of affairs, not just in California, but in a lot of places. And so it's really, really tough. You mentioned schools, Jorge. I wanted to chat about that. And by the way, guys, I do want to say we will link to all of Jorge's stuff down in that description. Check that out. I'll watch that video about the family. That's very heart-wrenching for sure. So you mentioned schools. Have you covered the school situation much? Because I think this is another thing in California that is so big. I mean, I personally have 3 kids at home on Zoom all day. It's terrible. It sucks. The kids should be in school. Just wanted to see if you've given that some attention as well.
Yeah, so I've started covering the situation here in California regarding the school. So I've actually interviewed a couple families and single mothers who kind of just expressed the difficulty of them, having to deal with the situation. One that kind of stood out was I interviewed a single mom. Her name was Perla, who lives in South Los Angeles. She works a graveyard shift with the metro buses down there, and she has 2 kids. One of her kids is a 6-year-old who needs special needs. He needs special attention. He's kind of a very hyper kid, but not only that, he has a speech therapy problem that he was actually approving on while going in school, and now he has not only fallen behind, he's falling behind on his schoolwork. She feels like he's not learning. Not only that, we have a mom that works all day and night. Then she comes home, sleeps about 2 or 3 hours, and has to make breakfast, get her kids up, and really has to put her focus on these kids while they are on these Zoom classes. These kids are not meant to be on a laptop on the internet all day. They're gonna lose interest. It's human nature. It's natural. They're at a stage where they need to be developing and see things and feel things and have that interaction stage. That's how they learn. We know this. You don't need me to tell you this, obviously, but so these kids are really falling behind. She really expressed just the difficulty of that. It's a sad situation, especially with her kid with special needs, because she felt like he was making those improvements with his speech, and now he's not there. Who knows how far behind he'll be by the time we get back to school. She's thinking he'll be a whole 2 grades behind by the time we get there. I've also interviewed a teacher. Her name is Brianna Thompson, and I can't say what school district she works for, because we know that if I say that, her school district might try to come after her. But yeah, she's also in support of going back to school and in-person learning, because she teaches in a community where it's mostly low-income Black and Latino students. Their parents are working class, meaning that they are working all day. They cannot be there to make sure that the homework assignment is in, that they're attending class and things like that. So she sees really low participation, low attendance, and low engagement. Not much. She said most of her students fall behind in schoolwork. One thing that she told me, and I found this very interesting, is she says a big solution right now is they just lessen the schoolwork on these kids. That's also leading to the mental health issues that we're seeing in teens and children. Is they are basically being overloaded with this laptop schoolwork that they're having trouble to get to. They can't really ask their parents for help, because most of these parents are working and are out there, trying to survive and stay afloat and pay the bills in this pandemic. And we're leading to a crisis here in California. But one story I want to highlight, because it's a really important one, and I just got back, is I was in Vancouver, Washington last week, and I was speaking with the Brainies family. So this is a family of 5 in Vancouver, Washington. A beautiful family of 5. They have a boy who's 10 years old, and they have 2 13-year-old boys. This is a happy family. All the boys got good grades. They're all athletic. They have a 13-year-old boy, Taven, who is an athlete. Like I said, great grades. He's actually taking Excel class, and he's 13 years old. But he's a social butterfly, is what they explained to me, that he's a type of kid that makes people laugh, likes that human interaction, really cared about his appearance, wanted to look nice. But as soon as these lockdowns hit, they started to see a decline in his behavior. They saw that he was started making comments saying, "Hey, when are we going back to school? Why am I staying locked in my house all day? When can I see my friends?" So they started to notice the comments. Then they started to notice that Taven would start to wake up late every day. So they started to see that he wouldn't care about his schoolwork. So then he started falling behind in school. They started to see that he also didn't care about his appearance. That's why I wanted to add that is we saw that his whole behavior just flipped. And this kind of kept going and going. And actually, January 6th, so the same day that the Capitol was stormed in D.C., Taven actually went to his grandpa's house. And while his grandpa went out to go get some medicine for himself, he took a 22 caliber pistol. He shot himself in the head. And what makes this story insane is when the grandfather got back to his apartment, he was gone between 10 minutes and he was gone for a whole hour, but they don't know if Taven was laying on the floor bleeding between 10 minutes and 50 minutes with no help. So as soon as the grandpa saw, he called 911. And I know it's a crazy story, but they were able to save his life. He had less than a 5% chance to live. They saved his life. He's in the hospital as we speak. Like I said, this recently just happened. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it all relates to mental health. He fell into depression because of the lockdowns. When I interviewed his father, he said the reason that he wanted to come forward with this story is because he wants to bring awareness to the situation. He said, hey, if this could happen to us, a regular happy family who had it all together, it could happen to anyone. Because look, one thing is clear is no matter how loving families is and parents, you could do a great job. And this is tough to say is at the end of the day is kids need, they need human interaction with other kids their age. It's just a regular, just a regular thing. Taven is 13, so he's coming in that age where, he's liking girls and they think they're, it's just a normal thing. And to be told your whole world to shut down, it's tough that you can't see your friends. One thing Nick, which is the father of Taven, which he points out, he says, hey, Jorge, when I try to get Taven to hang out with other kids his age, which, his regular friends, I have parents basically saying, hey, are you not worried about COVID and we're in a pandemic? So now it's that stigma as well where, you have parents who are afraid to even ask other parents, can we have our kids hang out with each other? Because that whole stigma of the pandemic, and it's just a sad situation. We just had the New York Times just put out that story in Clark County, Las Vegas, where Las Vegas is going to return to in-person learning solely off the fact that 18 kids in the past 9 months have committed suicide. So just off that, they're returning to in-person learning. So it's a sad situation across the country.
Man, Jorge, what a sad story. I mean, that's just terrible. It's awful. And obviously makes me think of, like I said, I have 3 kids. My son is 13. And so we try to get them outside, as much as possible every day, because otherwise, they do fall into this depression of video games and, at home, it's late at night and, nothing good really comes of that. And I do hear you on the, the other parents. I mean, I think a lot of these states are using scare tactics and fear to get people to comply with what they want them to do. I mean, I hate to continue to bring it up, but when I was in Texas, I feel like they're doing it the right way. They're like, hey, everything's open. Hey, please wear a mask, but otherwise you're good. Like, go play. The kids situation to me is just ridiculous. When you look at the data and the numbers, there is no justification for these schools ever, staying closed. It makes zero sense. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware, but it's the teachers' unions most of the time that are causing this issue because they want all these other demands that have nothing to do with COVID. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you just hit it on the teachers union. This story just came out this week as well. Is in Chicago, so the Chicago Public Schools, which is the nation's third largest school district, they were set to return to in-person learning this week, but over the weekend, the teachers union voted against that to remain remote. And one thing that I found this story really interesting is that the district put out a statement. So the district said, the reason we want to go back to in-person learning is because we are seeing a significant drop in grades, enrollment, and engagement from our Black and Latino students. It's affecting the minority communities, low-income communities. So it's interesting to see the battle now between unions, the school district. For those folks who haven't seen it, there's a viral video going around in Virginia right now of a father just calling out the school system. So I recommend folks to see that. But it's a sad situation. Our kids shouldn't be put in this position. I think it's even more sad that it took 18 kids committing suicide these past months for a school districts to say, hey, that's the reason we want to return to in-person learning.
Yeah, it really is. And Jorge, I was actually going to mention that earlier. The whole thing, right? So I don't want to make this a political video, but the Democratic platform again is that we want to help the underprivileged communities, the Black communities, the Latino communities, and all these people, right? But what they're doing, these lockdowns and the schools being closed, the kids and the people that get affected the most are the underprivileged communities because look. At my house, I have a good sized house. My kids are all in separate rooms. They got fast internet, usually. We're home for the most part helping them. But you go to someone who can't do that and the parents are working and the kids are home, that's who's getting hurt by this. That is the really sad part about it, that those are the communities that are being affected the most.
One thing I wanted to highlight really quick too, Danny, because this all really ties in together is when we have high unemployment, which we're seeing obviously in the pandemic in California, just last month, our unemployment actually rose almost a whole percentage. Actually, we lost 52,000 jobs. When high unemployment happens, divorce happens, families break up, and that once again affects those low income, underprivileged communities even more. And we're just seeing this negative domino effect, and we're seeing it almost accelerated here in California, the class warfare.
Yeah, for sure. And Jorge, I think the ramifications of this are going to be felt for a very long time. I think people are underestimating how long it's going to take. Maybe, look, the vaccine is here and it's being rolled out. So maybe health-wise, we pull out quicker. But the mental part that we're talking about, the toll on families, that's going to take a really long time, if ever, for some of these people, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of these people lost all their savings and wealth. Everything they ever really owned is destroyed. I just interviewed a beauty spa owner in Lancaster, California, where she says, my whole retirement was into this. It's done. She told me the day she's officially closing her doors is February 13th. As we're doing an interview, she's bawling her eyes out. This is just a sad reality for a lot of folks is these small business owners, that the whole thing of America was about taking risk and doing your own thing. And if you could establish yourself, there you go. And for a lot of people, they did that. These restaurants, their whole savings and retirement and 401ks are tied up into these establishments, and you're telling them to be on takeout only. It's ridiculous, and it's a sad situation. I know we're saying that it's going to take many years to recover for a lot of folks, but we got to remember there's going to be a good chunk of the population that they're never going to recover from this, and that's just the sad reality that we have to face.
No, it's totally true. So, all right, question for you. I know we kind of talked about, step one is changing the politics, especially in California. But when you do this, and as you're out, kind of talking about this, what do you think are because I like to be a guy that doesn't complain but offers solutions, right? And so, what do you think are some solutions, or at least some things that people can be doing right now in spite of all of this and everything that's happening?
I think the biggest thing is we just need to be, it takes a village to raise a child, and we need to be community focused again. And I think we are seeing examples of that. And what I mean by that is, when I interviewed some of these restaurant owners and I put the story out, they would call me back within a week and say, hey, man, since you put that video out, I had people from all over the country call me and just buy food and just help me out. And it's this little situation of just Americans helping Americans. If we can't count on the federal government or local government to help us out, I think we need to be community focused and be basically just looking out for each other. If you could go help out a small business, do it, promote it, put them on social media, whatever people need in your community. I think we need to go back to that, just helping each other out and just having that feel of Americans helping Americans out. Even when I put out this, look, obviously we can't do this for everyone, but when I put out the story of that small business owner, going, being, losing everything and basically just living in the middle of nowhere, people came to me and said, hey, let's do something for it. Let's start a GoFundMe. We had a GoFundMe for them, and in 12 hours we were able to raise, I believe $7,000 for them. And look, I know that's just one little small example. It's not something that obviously we could do for everyone right now, but all that, from just on the ground, there's a lot of, you know, when Americans come out and help out Americans, it's a big strength. I think we all seen that video now of Angela Marsden. She's the owner of I forgot the name of her bar, a Pineapple Hill Saloon in
Yeah.
Sherman Oaks, where she called out the movie company. Her video went viral. You know, people came out and looked out for her after that. People donated. They made sure she was going to stay in business, and that gives people hope. You know, people could fight back. You know, when I was with Dave Folds and Crony Sports Car, you know, he was defining the outdoor dining ban, but as he's defining it, his lines were longer than ever. I mean, people were waiting like an hour to dine outdoors. I mean, that was the type of support that he is getting. So we got to come together as a community. Americans have to help out Americans if that's what it takes. As of right now, I think that's practical. That's something that you could literally put into use this next hour, and you know, we could go from there. You know, I wish I had a better answer. If I did, I would be running the state myself. But that's why I'm on this side to do more of the exposing. So
Not true, Jorge. If you had a good answer, you would not be running the state. You'd never get promoted.
oh, that's right. That's right. You're right.
No, I love your answer, man. I really do. I think that's a great thing for everyone to hear from this, because there's so much bad stuff going on, and if you just get that from this talk, that, you know, go help someone out, go buy from a small business. You know, now I think outdoor dining is open again here locally in LA, and so our plan is, as much as possible, go support these small businesses. Help them out.
And Danny, really quick, I didn't
Yep.
mean to interrupt you, but it could even be a small thing. You know, if you know someone in your community who says, "Hey, my kid is feeling down," reach out and say, "Hey, you want to let's set up a play date. Can our kids
Yeah.
play some basketball at a park?" Like even that goes a big way. I think so.
I completely agree with you. And, you know, I've seen the data. I mean, you can interpret it however you want, but, you know, kids playing with kids has not been seen to be a transmission of the virus. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but, you know, that's my interpretation of the data, and I think that's been proven over and over. So I agree. Get your kids out there and get them to play, and at least get them outside every day, you know, so they're not cooped up indoors. So, yeah, that's a really good takeaway, I think, from what we're doing. Well, Jorge, I will say, you know, keep doing what you're doing, man. Please continue to expose all of this stuff. And, you know, I really do hope we all come out of this, you know, surviving and thriving, and continue to improve as a society. And like you said, Americans helping each other for now. I think that's a great thing, what you're doing.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Danny.
You got it, Jorge. Thanks, man. I'll see you later. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope you really enjoyed that conversation with Jorge. I know that this got pretty deep. We talked about some really serious topics. And again, Jorge shared some pretty heart-wrenching stories that he has been covering. So I want to ask you to do me a favor. If you enjoyed that, please give this video a big thumbs up. And also be sure to support Jorge. All of the links to everything on his page to support him and all of that good stuff is down in the description below. So go ahead and support him down there. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and I will see you on the next video.